Okay, welcome. Math 112. We're going to go over the first two sections, 6.1 and 6.2, of grading greatest common factor and factor by grouping, and factoring trinomials. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to go through some questions for my open math. I'll do every other one for each section. It's probably the best way to do it. In addition to this instructional video, you'll also see an activity that'll help you practice it, kind of animated flashcards game kind of thing. You'll see a Quizlet activity. All right, but here we go. So you're looking for the greatest common factor. Let's say this is 6.1. So you're looking for the greatest common factor of 36 and 60. So you're breaking that down into smaller numbers. Okay, you're trying to find, so the greatest common factor is the largest number that goes into both terms. So you want to break that down by using the factor tree. So you have 2 times 18, and then circle it when you get a prime number. This is called the prime factorization. Then again, you're going to get 2 times 9. You circle 2 because it's prime, and then 9 becomes 3 and 3. So 36 becomes 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. Now with 60, you do the same thing. You're going to get 2 and 30, and you're going to get 2 and 15, and then you get 3 and 5. So therefore, 60 becomes 2, 2, 3, 5. So if you put that underneath, you get 2, 2, 3, 5. You look for what numbers are in common. Well, what do you have? You have 2 2's and a 3. So those are the numbers that are in common. So you have 2 times 2 times 3, which equals 12. So the greatest common factor for this one, for these two numbers, 36 and 60, is 12, because 12 is the largest number that goes into 36 and 60. Okay, moving on. Let's look at the greatest common factor for, this is number 3 here. This is going to help you with your homework if you hadn't noticed. You have 8xy squared and 20y cubed. You break things down into its simplest parts and compare. That's what I would do. So the 8 becomes 2 and 4, and then it becomes 2 and 2, so that's breaking it down. It's called prime factorization. And then you have x, y, y. That's making a picture basically out of, breaking a picture out of 8y squared. The 8 becomes 2, 2, 2, and then x, y, y. Over here you're going to have 2 and 10. Then you're going to have 2 and 5. So your numbers are 2, 2, 5. And over here you have y, y, y. So if you write that underneath, you're going to have 2, 2, 5, and then y, y. So then you just look to see what you have in common. You have a 2, you have a 2, and then you have a y. So the greatest common factor there is going to be 4y. And that's the greatest amount that goes into both. Oh, I should take that back. You have 2 y's. 4y squared. Okay, there you go. So moving on down. Try to skip around to a couple of these. Factor out the greatest common factor. Okay, so for number 5 there, it says factor out. So greatest common factor is really dividing, right? So you're taking it out. So for this one here, it says 10a4b3 plus 35a3b4 plus 15ab5. So not only do you need to find the GCF, but you have to factor it out. That means take it outside. So if you look here, you say 10, 35, and 15. Well, clearly a 5 goes in there, so your greatest common factor is going to have a 5 in it. Then you look at a's. What's the greatest number of a's in all 3 places? Well, this has 1, this has 3, and this has 4. So the greatest number of a's that's in all 3 is just 1a. Okay? And then look at the b's. 3 b's here, 4 b's here, 5 b's here. So the greatest amount in all 3 is b to the 3rd. So your GCF is 5a b to the 3rd. But they ask you to factor it out, which means that you have to do this and then write in what's missing. Well, 5 times 2 is 10. You need a to the 3rd to make a to the 4th. And you don't need any b's at all. Now here, 5 times 7, you need a to the second because you have a third altogether, and b, and then b times 5 times 3 is 15, and then that's just plain a, and then you have b to the third times b to the second gives you b to the fifth. So there you go. That's finding the GCF and factoring it out means dividing by. Okay, so there you go. Factoring it out. Factor by grouping. So we should do a couple of those. So factor by grouping, one of my favorite techniques, x to the second plus 7x plus 9x plus 63, means that when you have 4 terms, you're grouping them into 2 groups of 2. So 7. Okay, so that means you're going to factor by grouping, take out a GCF for each part. So take out a GCF here and take out a GCF here. So you look at there and you say, oh, I could take out x. So x times x plus 7. Because x times x squared, x times 7, 7x. Now over here, what's your greatest common factor? 9. So you have a 9 times x plus 7. So now, what do you notice? You notice that you have a x plus 7 in both cases. So x plus 7 is our greatest factor. That's, is the factor that's in common from here to here. So what do you have left? X plus 9. So my answer is x plus 7 times x plus 9, and that is indeed the answer to that question. Let's try one here, factor by grouping. Okay, we'll try another one of these. Try grouping number 12. So it asks you for 7x squared minus 35x plus 4x minus 20. So again, we look to see the greatest common factor or make pairs. So here you have 7x over here, and you have x minus 5. Then you have a 4 over here, and x minus 5. Now, if we've done it correctly, we should have the same term inside. That's not a coincidence. That means we've done it correctly. And so what's the greatest common factor in both of these? X minus 5. What's left over? 7x plus 4. So that goes in the other parenthesis. 7x plus 4. And we're done. How do you know if you're done? How do you know if it's right? Just multiply it out and see if you get back to the original. If you do, then you know you did it right. All right. Take off in a second with the next section, which was factoring trinomials. Okay, so here's some problems from 6.2. These are factoring trinomials completely. So you have a trinomial, so you have 3 terms, and you have to factor that out. Now we have something called the AC method. So we're looking for numbers that multiply to negative 24. C, there's A is 1. In this case, B is negative 2, and C is negative 24. Numbers that multiply to negative 24 that also add to negative 2. So that's going to be negative 6 and positive 4. Why are those numbers important? Because that's how you're going to you can factor that directly. So we can factor that directly. So it's going to be x minus 6 times x plus 4. And you see that we factored that because if you multiply this out, you get back to the original. That's how you know you get the right answer. So that is correct. Now, looking at this problem over here, so if you want to make sure you got it right, you say x squared plus 4x minus 6x minus 24. You don't have to do this every time, but you'll notice that matches exactly the original. So that's how you know you check your answer to see if it's correct. Now over here, you have to factor out. So you're looking for numbers that multiply to 14 and add. So you numbers that multiply to C and add to B. So you're looking for numbers that multiply to 14 and add to 9. And those are going to be 7 and 2. So 7 and 2 is what you're going to put in the middle here. So you're going to have x plus, and you have to put a y in here because you have y squared. So it's going to be x plus 7y. That's the only reason why it looks more complicated. And then x plus 2y. And again, how do you find out if you have the right answer? Well, you can multiply it out. So you're going to get x squared plus 2xy plus 7xy. By the way, when you have x and y together, you write them in alphabetical order, not yx. Okay, and then you multiply together the last 2 terms, and you get 14y squared. So that doesn't indeed match the original if you combine the 2 middle terms. So we know that this is the correct factored answer. So we start off with a trinomial, and we write it as a product of two binomials. Now down here, now this one's a little trickier because the first number is not a 1. So you notice here it's just x squared, and notice here that's just x squared. Okay. Now this format is called ax squared. Okay. Ax squared. So ax squared means that you have a number that's before here that's not a 1. It's an 8 in this case. So what we do is we multiply a times c. So we multiply a times c, okay, that adds to b. So looking for two numbers that multiply to a times c that adds to b. Now, if we can't find numbers that do that, then it's not factorable. Okay, it's called prime. So we're looking for numbers that multiply to 24 that add to 10. Well, that's going to be a positive 6 and a positive 4. But instead of just writing your two terms like we did last time by doing this and this, we're not ready to do that yet. We rewrite the middle terms. So instead of having 3 terms, we write 4 terms. Now, how do we do that? Instead of writing plus 10, we're going to write plus 6 and plus 4. Okay, and what we're doing is we're going to get a factor by grouping. So we're going to have 8x squared plus 4x plus 6. Sorry, it's xy. Okay, because that's y. 8x squared plus 4xy plus 6xy plus 3y squared. So what we did was we found a combination of numbers that adds to 10 that multiplies to 24. You get the 24 from 8 times 3. And they were 6 and 4. And then we rewrote this middle term. Instead of saying plus 10xy, it's plus 4xy plus 6xy. And yes, you can write that in any order. It doesn't matter. I just chose that. So, and then we find out the greatest common factor here. The greatest common factor here is 4x. And what's left? 2x plus y. And over here, you're going to say what's the greatest common factor? You're going to get plus 2y. And what do you have left on the inside? You're going to have, what's on the inside? 3y. What's left on the inside? You're going to have x, 2x, 3y times 2x gives you 6xy. 3y times, that's going to be y. So if you did it correctly, we get the same term inside the parentheses, 2x plus y. So therefore, our final answer is going to be 2x plus y, the term that's inside the parentheses, next to what's left over, 4x plus 3y. And if you wanted to check it by multiplying it out, you could, but it does in fact equal the original, so we know we got it right. One more to wrap this section up. We're looking for, again, we noticed that there's a number in front of the y, or the x, so we have to use the AC method. Okay, that means we're looking for numbers that multiply times to 48. That adds to 19. And those two numbers are 16 and 3. So that's how we rewrite the middle term. We have 19y. So instead of writing 19y, we have 16 and 3. So we have 4y squared plus 16y plus 3y plus 12. And the reason why we did that is so we can do factor by grouping, which we learned in the last section. So the greatest common factor here is 4y. What's left? Y plus 4. Over here, the greatest common factor is 3. What's left? Y plus 4. Do we have the same term on the inside? Yes, we do. So our answer is y plus 4 quantity times 4y plus 3. And that, if we multiply it out, will give us back to the original, and that's how we know we got the right answer. So there you go. So this concludes 6.1 and 6.2. You'll also note that there's a quizzes activity online for you. So we're probably going to use that activity in class. I hope that you watch this video before class, and so we can go right to the quizzes and do some practice and some gaming, make it a little more entertaining. All right. I hope you learned this. If you have questions, as always, send me an email. I'll help you out, but hopefully this will be helpful to you. And just get started on that homework and start pecking away early so it doesn't build up. Remember, I don't have any specific due dates as long as it's due before the test. Okay, it's due before the test from this unit. You don't have to get it done by a certain time, but you should definitely get some done a little bit at a time as we do it in class. All right, take care. See you soon. Bye.